John Lynch is the worst general manager in NFL history when it comes to drafting in the first rounds. He's very good in the later rounds. He's found the Hufangas of the world, even though he's in Denver now, the Warners of the world, the George Kittles. But it does not excuse his behavior for the first round. 2017. They didn't even evaluate quarterbacks in a draft where Patrick Mahomes was available. So you get Solomon Thomas, who just never lived up to his potential. I hate to say it was a bust. And at 31, you get Reuben Foster, who had a very good um, rookie season, but after that got in trouble and got kicked out the league. 2018, you go and get Mike McGlinchey, who at the ninth pick, he wasn't the worst O lineman ever. He's actually having a much better season in Denver than he ever had as a 49er. The problem is in 2018, you know who was available? Lamar Jackson. 2019, you nailed it. You got Nick Bosa, by far the best player in that draft. Even though he struggles to stay healthy, he is a game changer. Here's where you lost me. You lose the NFL Super Bowl, right? Tom Brady's available, and you say, we're sticking with Jimmy. He's our guy. He led us to the Super Bowl. Awful decision. You know, Kraft was like, when Bill Belichick said, hey, we're putting in Jimmy. We want Jimmy. We're going to move on from Brady. He said, absolutely not, and shipped Jimmy out of town for a reason. But you made the Super Bowl, and you had a very good D-line. The only problem was D Ford struggled to stay healthy. So you know what you did? You trade DeForest Buckner to try and save a little bit of Guala and say, hey, we can replace him in the draft. No, you can't. Kinlaw doesn't hold a candle. And the problem with the Kinlaw pick was the amount of talent available at the wide receiver position. And for people saying, well, the Niners had elite wide, no, they don't. The 49ers are the only team since 2002 to not have a wide receiver have 10 plus touchdowns receiving. The only team, you know how embarrassing that is? The last person to do it was Terrell Owens for the Niners. Are you going to find a TO? No. But the fact that they're the only team that have not had a wide receiver had 10 receiving touchdowns is absolutely pathetic, and it's honestly the reason they can't um you know break through the hump. And you trade up and you go get Brandon Ayuk at 25. What's the problem with that? The problem is, why didn't you trade up at 22? Why didn't you trade up from Buffalo, who was willing to give that to the Vikings for a bag of chips? Because you know who they drafted 22? Justin Jefferson. You could have had him at 14. You could have had a Justin Jefferson. Brandon Ayuk has just flat out refused to play for the San Francisco 49ers at this point. You could have had a Jonathan Taylor from the Col- you just it's just Cleveland Cole Kmet, someone who could contribute to this team. The fact that I'm this upset and I haven't even gotten to 2021 yet is, you draft a guy at third, you move up from 13 for a guy who would have been there at 13, a guy who only played less than a year of college football. You know what you'd give up first 3 round picks. You know what those first 3 round picks have turned into? They turned into Tyreek Hill, another elite wide receiver, a Jalen Waddle, a very good wide receiver, arguably better than anyone the 49ers have had in this era of the Shanahan, and a Chubb, which is just crazy. 3 Pro Bowl players. Trey Lance is no longer on the 49ers. So 2022, you don't have a first round pick. 2023, you don't, because they got traded to the Miami Dolphins. 2024, you draft Ricky Pearsall. Ricky Pearsall is not a true number one wide receiver. You can argue he's not even a number two. And you look at teams like, I absolutely hate the Rams. They have Devontae Adams as their number 2 wide receiver. And for a good reason, because Puka Nakua is catching anything in his vicinity. Ricky P has been another bust. I hate to say it, but he has been another bust. Mikael Williams at 25, 1 sack in 9 games. And I get that he tore his ACL, but 1 sack in 9 games. You know who he was drafted over? James Pierce Jr. for the Atlanta Falcons. The 49ers couldn't get pressure if they were going up against a gang of grandmas. But James Pierce Jr., this in 17 games, 10.5 sacks. I'm not even looking forward to this year's draft. I think they should move up and draft a wide receiver or invest in this O-line. But knowing John Lynch, he's going to hit another swing and miss.